how you can make your meals a lot faster to make while still hitting your macronutrients and your micronutrients and fueling your body with the amazing stuff that it needs to function.
Let the sun go down. Pulling me back, I know not tonight. Pulling me back, I know not tonight. Pulling me back, I know not tonight. It feels like I can't hold on.
Alright guys, so the first tip on how you can make sure that you're still having a balanced meal, a balanced diet with all your different micronutrients, macronutrients, having a good variety on your plate, you know, colorful vegetables, is to go for frozen vegetable mixes. So here I have like green beans, carrots, cauliflower, butter beans, capsicum, yeah. So a good variety, and then some cucumbers that I put on the side, and that took me what, like 2 to 3 minutes to put in the pan. And another benefit of just going for frozen vegetable mixes is, one, like if you live by yourself like me, or you like, you know, a lot of different vegetables, but when you buy them fresh they just go off, this is another way to make sure you're having that variety without having to freak out and be like, oh my god, I have to finish those vegetables that I bought because they're gonna go off. So yeah, I would highly recommend going for frozen vegetable mixes. It also saves you so much time in terms of not just cooking but also cleaning time and prep time. Like I used to love just like, you know, chopping up my broccoli and all that stuff, and I still do, but when you are busy or if you're in a rush and if you still want to make sure that you're still getting the nutritional needs that you want while saving time, again, frozen vegetable mixes are so easy to do that. Now in terms of this meal, as you can see, we are again hitting all our macronutrients, so I'll pop the macronutrients here, but you've got your carbs from the 3 cheese bagel, very excited to try that. You've got your fats from the pesto, a very good fat source here, and also again a very quick fat source to add on to your meal. Other great savory sources are like tahini or say hummus, avocado, all great options there. And then you've got your protein from the beef steak, and then obviously your micronutrients and your volume. It's going to keep you nice and full and feeling satisfied from your meal, from your vegetables. It just adds in so much more to your plate and just makes you feel like you're eating a lot more. So that is meal number 1. And now we're going to move on to tip number 2 on how you can make your meals a lot faster to make while still hitting your macronutrients and your micronutrients and fueling your body with the amazing stuff that it needs to function.
Make some trouble, baby. Bring the bass, we might be in trouble, baby. Make some trouble, baby. You better be, feel better, better. You better be, you better be,
Alright guys, so tip number 2 is if you are running short on time and you want something that's super simple and quick to make in terms of your carb source, opting for say like breads or wraps or even pita bread is going to be really good in terms of getting you your carb source in there, but without actually having to need any cooking time. So for example, rice and potatoes, that's going to take a bit longer unless you have already prepped ahead of time and you are killing that prep game. But if not, you know, it's one of those things where you're like, oh, I'm not going to say, oh, if my diet right and like, oh, well, I haven't prepped my normal foods, so whatever. You can still opt for something that's going to fuel your body in a good way, and you know, you can still make your own meals. So what I usually typically do for lunch, because I am in a bit more of a rush and I don't really want to be spending heaps of time like cooking, essentially I have been loving these low carb wraps. So my food intake right now is pretty high, but I sometimes go for low carb wraps just because that means I can have 2 wraps instead of 1. So if you are someone who perhaps likes eating higher in volume, but say you are short in time, typically, you know, wraps or like bread or bagels, they are going to be more calorie dense. So for the amount of food that you are eating, it's not going to feel like you're eating as much, but you're still going to get the same amount of calories in compared to, say, you know, maybe potatoes, where you would have a much kind of bigger plate of food for the amount of calories you're taking in. So if you're short on time and you want something like a wrap or bread, but you also still want that feeling of having had a lot of food, opting for something that's more like a low carb option can essentially give you 2 wraps for 1. Or even the Vogel's bread here, it's like thin slice, so you get essentially 2 slices rather than 1. So that way you are pretty much still hitting the same macros or calories, but you're able to actually eat more, and that I find mentally sometimes feels really nice as well. So that is tip number 2. If you're short on time and you're looking for a carb source, opting for having, you know, some wraps at home, some bagels, quick carb sources in the pantry for you that you can just go and put in the toaster is going to save you so much time, and it's also going to prevent you from going to that kind of like effort mentality where it's like, well, I actually have to like cook, and that's like another 20 minutes of making rice or potatoes and I haven't prepped ahead of time. I'll just order in or go and grab a Subway. Make your own Subway, you know, like have these things at home so that if you are short on time, you can just resort to them. And they're also gonna make lovely meals as well. So what I've done is I have just created a little wrap here. It's very overexposed. Why am I doing this? I'm like pretending I'm holding like makeup. But it's pretty much a wrap with prawns. The prawns have just been frozen as well. So again, it took me like 5 minutes just to heat on the pan. A slaw mix, which again, I've just bought from the supermarkets. So again, it's like all ready and made. I haven't really had to cook anything. And then I've just put on some like vegetable crisps on the side because I love my kumara crisps. So that is pretty much my next meal all sorted. Again, it took me like 5 minutes. So if you're in a rush, super simple one to make. And I will prop the macros here for you guys. So again, as you can see, a very balanced meal in terms of your fat source from pesto again. So I typically kind of just go for the same fat sources really to save time. The carb source, the wrap, and the veggie crisps, the protein from the prawns. Again, a very balanced and quick meal. So I hope that this helps, and we'll now move on to tip number 3. Okay guys, so tip number 3 is using different kitchen appliances together, okay? So if you have a rice cooker, that is spot on. I currently do not have one. However, I'm just going to use the saucepan to cook up my rice. So I'm just going to mix brown rice and jasmine rice or long grain rice together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the oven to basically bake my tofu. Hopefully you can see the tofu in there. Bake my tofu and my tempeh for dinner tonight. So those two are going to be my protein sources. That is going to be my carb source. And then my veggies are just going to be a mix of, again, the oriental stir fry that I've already had for lunch. And then just add some tahini for my fat sources. So that, again, is going to save me time, because when you pop something in the oven, you can pretty much just leave it there and you can kind of go off and do your own thing. If you have a rice cooker, same thing, just pop everything in there and then you can leave, go on about your day, finish up with whatever work you have to do, clean your house, whatever it is, and then it's ready within like 20 to 25 minutes, and you've been able to utilize that time whilst doing something else. Another tip is, if you are prepping ahead of time, what I would do is for dinner, perhaps make double the batch and then have that second batch as your lunch for the next day. That's what I did when I was at uni. So basically when I was making my dinner, I would just make like twice the amount or 3 times the amount, and then I would know that I at least have like 2 lunch times or lunch meals prepared for me for the next 2 days. And again, that's going to save you so much time for lunch the next day, because you've already made it whilst you were making your dinner. Because if you're going to make a batch of dinner anyways, you might as well just make maybe like twice the amount for yourself. So that is, I guess, another bonus tip. But yeah, let's go ahead and make our last meal. Alright guys, so that is the last meal all done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys took away some insights and some tips on just how to make those balanced meals a bit faster for yourselves, just to save some time as well. Now, if you remake any of the meals, or if you found any of this useful, please let me know in the comments below. Let me know what else you'd love to see, just to benefit you as well and just to help you out a bit more on this journey of yours. And other than that, make sure to give this video a like and subscribe if you are new here. If you haven't connected over on Instagram yet, that's cz.fit. Would absolutely love to have you there. And other than that, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!